So welcome back to Decoy Noise. Today we're going to be doing a subscriber request, which is more entitled parents. So your boy Fresh, Noah Plays, and Different Moose are all saying that they want me to do entitled parents, which I do enjoy myself. I also like that a lot of you guys are counting off which subscriber number you are right now. I don't know if anybody's been following me for a while, but my subscriber growth has been painstakingly slow. So honestly, I really appreciate when you tell me which number you are so I can kind of see how fast I'm growing. And honestly, I'll start to put you guys all in a category of like that original, what I'm going to call you guys are the Decoy Koi, which is something hard to say, but I like it. It's kind of funny. I'll probably make a list or something on there on Decoy Noise. So if you haven't already, please subscribe down below. But before I do any more regular talk, let's just get into the topic, which is Entitled Parents is, I got screamed at by a mom after I wouldn't let her kid pet my service dog. So one thing I will say as a disclaimer from me is I am really into dogs and I like petting like random animals I see over by like the coffee shop or at the mall or whatever, and I always ask because you never know if the dog's mean or not. But honestly, service dogs are like the best dogs. They're always going to be like a black lab or like a golden retriever or like something that's very, very well trained, and they just seem like a really good dog. They're working and I want to pet them, but I mean, whatever. So let's just get into it right now. Happened today. I'm at the movie theater to see Onward. I have a service dog, a very large German Shepherd. See, I bet you he's a really good looking dog too. His vest is a navy camo and made out of my old uniform. Very clear, do not pet patches. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is those dogs are such a tease. So, a kid, like 12 years old, ran at my dog and tried to pet him. I blocked his hand and told him, don't pet him. He asked why, and I said, you never touch dogs you don't know. I tend to say this rather than you don't touch service dogs, because in general, you should never pet a dog you don't know. Effing entitled mommy came screeching out of the effing nowhere. Don't tell my child what to do. I told her, so raise him better. I dig that, and walked off with my dog while listening to her scream. Wow. So I guess if people aren't aware, service dogs, it's very hard to train the dog to like get them to be very focused, not really distracted by other things and everything. So from what I gather, it's like you need to keep the dog like, this is not playtime. He needs to have a job. He needs to make sure I don't walk into the street, because it might not even be that person's service dog. It could be a service dog they're training for, like, you know, it's going to go to a kid with disabilities, someone that's blind. So it needs to be, you know, very locked in or whatever. I may be getting this entirely wrong, but I know that service dogs, as cute as they may be and as much of like screeches they need, you need to leave them alone, which is sad. So the top reply was, so raise them better, which is they're quoting, and they say, this is what normal people do to psycho parents with no boundaries. They don't stand there with their psycho screams at them and threaten to call the police. Yeah, this is such a weird thing. We've seen that in entitled parents a lot, where everybody wants to call the police over like little petty stuff that like just two adults should be able to figure out. But I mean, that's what we are right now. The OP replied, says, yeah, I never understood people like this. Just take it. A reply to that says, I will, because I have massive anxiety about being yelled at. I will just break down and freeze. Oh, that's terrible. Next reply was, you sound like me, but this brain is in this scrawny little body will figure a way. What? I don't even know what that is. Perks of being built like a linebacker. People don't try to start stuff. Yes, that is true though. It's like, you know, like, it's one of those things about being like super big and buff is whatever. Is like, in order for me to ever get like the respect of like a guy that's huge and buff, is like I have to actually like be open carrying around like in public for people to be afraid of me like they would of like a just like ginormous person. So it's like that's actually a big perk on that guy's lone Spartan's behalf. Next reply, I've got a classmate who is absolutely fascinated with my service dog and always tries to pet him without asking. Another classmate said they'd be happy to take him if I ever couldn't. People be weird, mate. Wait, I would be happy to take your service animal? Like, what is that? People do be weird. Okay. Reply to that comment is, why can't you pet service dogs? Just curious. Okay, cool. So we're actually going to get down to the bottom of this. The next reply says, they're focusing very hard on doing their jobs and petting them is distracting to them. More importantly, a service animal is an accessibility tool like any other. As an analogy that may make sense, you wouldn't want to grab someone's glasses from their face and try to play with them. As someone with terrible vision that's worn glasses all the time in my childhood, everybody wants to grab your glasses and play with them. Like, oh my god, how do you see with this? You're so blind. It's like, I am blind. Like, I can't see without them. The reply to that, it says, that's funny because I've had tons of people take glasses off my face, put them on and say, wow, you're so blind, hence the glasses. See, everybody's so happy that I'm the real commentator, where I'm not a robot when I'm doing these Reddit threads. But what if I'm the ultimate Turing test, where I'm not actually I'm not a human, I'm just a robot, because I'm the collective consciousness of all the other Reddit comments on here that I actually am just just seeing if anybody can tell that I'm actually AI with all my stuttering, my mispronunciations and all that stuff. But I honestly kind of have a lot of the same stories that everybody on Reddit has. Kind of spooky, and it's actually going to give me a, like I said, a panic attack last time. Like, wait, am I real? It's that movie Ex Machina where, okay, you know what? I'm detracting too much. So the next post says, my youngest isn't even 3 and he's autistic. We've drilled it into his head. If they're wearing a vest or any type of clothing, potentially, they would be working. My older 2 ask if a dog is working, and if they're not, can they pet? Yeah, that's totally reasonable. It's like one of those weird things where, like, we had another post where it's like a pregnant woman has her belly and just people think, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk up and touch your belly in public. Like, that's such a weird thing. And it's like, oh yeah, if there's a dog, I'm just entitled to walk up and pet your dog. It's like, why do people just kind of throw out basically a basic like manners when they see an animal or a pregnant woman? Like, it's this we're in such a weird society right now. Next post, OPUs annihilate. It's super effective. The reply to that was, entitled mother use screech. OP isn't affected. Yes. And then the next reply was, entitled mother has been burned. I love Pokemon bleeding into the other subreddits. And honestly, if I could see Pokemon bleed into a thread and Dunder Mifflin bleed into a thread, it's been a successful post. The next post says, this really gets me riled up. You handle this perfectly. I don't have a service dog, but I've always questioned the response of, you can't pet him or her because they're a service dog and they cannot be pet while they're working. In that it's not sufficient. You should never pet a random dog you don't know until you ask permission first and get the all clear. Some people's dogs are trained to protect them, are unpredictable, or are just more aggressive dogs. If you pet my dog without asking while on a walk, he will bite, growl, snap at you. That's on you, pal. My friend has a service dog and his vest has do not pet patches on both sides. Even still, when people ask to pet him first, she usually says, you can give him a quick pat on the head, or you can ask him to shake your hand, simply because she appreciates people actually asking first because it happens so rarely. That's kind of cool. Actually, maybe I'll do that then next time I see a service dog, because service dogs are like the smartest animals. The real service dogs, not the fake ones where they just go buy something on Amazon and slap it on them and say, hey, you can come to this restaurant because he's my emotional support animal or whatever. I'm talking about actual genuine service dogs. Like, hey, can I shake your dog's hand? That's going to be super weird. Can I shake your dog's hand or whatever? Like I'm running for dog mayor or something. But just the idea that it's like, yeah, I guess shaking would still be a part of the dog working, not necessarily like just it relaxing and just kind of unbuckling its belt and relaxing or whatever. So I do like that sentiment. I wonder if I will be able to do that. The next reply says, thank God my parents raised me this way. Always ask first. Later I learned to ask the human first, then the dog. Human may say yes, but the dog clearly says no. Until this day, I don't want to stress any animal. They're alive and don't care how much you want to pet them. I know my friend and take care. He hates most men, almost all children existing, some women, other dogs, weekdays, rain, and a bit more. He tends to be a bit grumpy. See, that's one thing I never thought. Like, people say, oh yeah, my dog doesn't like men, my dog prefers women, or vice versa, or whatever. But it's true. My parents adopted a dog that it came from a shelter, so it's like I don't want to say secondhand animal, it's so callous, but just the idea that they got an animal from a shelter, it actually prefers women. It's weird. Like, me and Jess met the dog for the first time, and she just kind of curled up against Jess and didn't want anything to do with me. Kind of sad. So let's get back to the post. Can't wait for any Karen and her spawns with the entitlement to touch my dog. So if a spawn feels like he can let them touch him, they just look so cute and fluffy and all. Like, yeah, I give warnings. If he feels like to accept your existence, we may discuss the next step. If this isn't the case, take the kid away. He warns enough by himself, but more and more people tend not to be able to read a dog, listen to his warning signals, and blame it on the bad dog. This is true. They want to say like your dog is bad, but it's like, no, your dog handling abilities are bad. You don't know how to interact with a wild animal. Well, I guess domestic animal, but still. And the one thing I'll say to piggyback on this is my favorite breed of animal is Shiba Inu, and I love them so much. I really hope that I get to earn a Shiba Inu through this channel at some point in time. But it's just that idea that Shiba Inus are typically not very friendly to people. So if you see a Shiba Inu in the wild, like I always ask, can I pet your dog? And they'll say yes, but most of the time the person's okay with it, but the dog is, and they just kind of look at you and like, yeah, I'm not interested in you petting me right now. Like they're very standoffish, which is sad. Next reply says, I volunteered at a place for training service animals, so I know the rule of don't touch a service animal unless the person says it's okay. But even before that, I say the watches said not to pet. I knew not to. What? That's okay, whatever. The fact that she did it is so rude on so many levels. So I mean, I guess we're kind of getting into like this, the regular just like replies. Let me look at some before we wrap it up right here, controversial replies, because those I feel like are always the best ones in terms of just craziness. So let's see. This person says the service dog vests that say things like "Don't pat me, I'm working," make me more desperate to pat them because doggy, I'm an adult and I can restrain myself. I can see why that's the controversial comment, but honestly, you're saying what everybody's thinking at some level. Every dog lover is thinking. So F yeah to you. I have an ESA therapy dog that's still in training but has helped me so much. I have an extra patch on him telling people that it's okay to pet him because it helps me talk to people again. Most people ask first, but some people just run up and pet him, and I try my best to explain that most service or therapy dogs are working and should always ask first. Thanks for standing up to that, Karen. And the extra reply from the original poster says, please look into the differences between ESAs, therapy dogs, and service dogs. Will save you in the future because you are currently using incorrect terms that can get you banned from places when you don't realize. And thanks. See, we even kind of talked about that earlier with the whole situation with people don't know what they have. They just gotta get a patch from Amazon and say, this is my service dog. It's no, a therapy dog is like when you have PTSD and you're allowed to have an animal with you because it's like it helps you cope with that stuff. Like they can't, I believe in most places they can't charge you extra rent in an apartment if you have a therapy dog, which is totally cool, but it's not essentially a service dog. Like a service dog knows like how to deal with like busy crowded restaurants and lots of kids running up to them and stuff like that. A therapy dog is just a dog you have that you're allowed to have. So I mean, enough of me talking about my love for animals. Let me know down below in the comments how much you love animals or how much you hate listening to me talk. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, but also just give me some comments, give me some pointers. I'm always open to advice as to how to make the channel better, but I appreciate you coming by.